No matter how many times I talk about Absolver, it always seems like I have something else to say later on down the road. However, this time around, my thoughts might just surprise you. Growing up in a household where just about every game and console had to be shared between my older brother and I, we had to be cautious on what games we asked for and even purchased for ourselves when the money became available. This usually equated to multiplayer games. No, not those! I'm talking about the good old-fashioned couch co-op games. The kind of experience that doesn't need an introduction, because I'm almost positive you all have played at least some form of game like this yourself. My brother and I had piles of great games growing up that we could always pop in and work together on. Something in which we could both get equally invested in, where the story and experience were wrapped up into one tight package. Some of my fondest memories are hunting for the skulls together in Halo 3 with YouTube walkthroughs on a laptop right next to us while playing. We also played through the first two Tak and the Power of Juju titles, and were ecstatic when we discovered Tak and the Great Juju Challenge had a co-op story mode. This style of multiplayer was always a fun time, but there was seemingly always a piece missing with these games, a particular edge or feeling that was noticeably absent. That's where competition comes in, using your skills, speed, and wit to outdo and sometimes downright embarrass your opponents. In my case, my older brother, cousins, and close friends. But there were no competitions quite as electric as the competitive fighting games we would duel in. There's something so cathartic to laying down blisteringly fast combos on the guy sitting right next to you on the couch. Whether it was Power Stone Smash or some other obscure brawler that caught our interest, we were always down to try and show each other who was boss. Of course, winning was always the main goal, but personally, I tended to get addicted to watching the combo meter climb higher and higher. To lock your opponent out of retaliation because you were too damn quick was a very infectious feeling for me personally. This feeling would stick with me as I ventured out into playing other games as well. Titles where I had the ability to either chain movements, abilities, or powers together for some incredibly stylish spectacles. Style and combat wasn't the only thing I came to appreciate though. I also gained a deep appreciation for a rich world and setting. This came about as I explored the ever-growing Soulsborne genre. I was knee-deep in Dark Souls 1 only shortly after completing 3, and I caught wind of an immediately intriguing game on the horizon. Absolver. Absolver showed up as if out of nowhere. But after stumbling upon demo footage on YouTube, the game instantly grabbed my attention. With a seemingly very fresh take on hand-to-hand combat and some elements not so subtly lifted from the Soulsborne series, Absolver found itself on my radar. So, how is the game? To begin, the story is sparsely told through vague cutscenes, cryptic NPC dialogue, and lore-heavy item descriptions. Like, what is the Fold? Who the hell is this Ryzen I keep hearing about? Ultimately, it doesn't matter because that's not really what's important. Absolver, not unlike Dark Souls, favors giving you a meaningful journey over a prescribed destination. It doesn't shove the story in your face so much as it leaves clues for you to find and fit together for yourself. If it tickles your fancy, I recommend trying to uncover the lore yourself, because from what I found on my playthrough, it is interesting in its own right. At the start of your adventure, you get to choose from one of 3 unique combat styles, which also determines your character's combat abilities and starting stats. These abilities include absorbing, parrying, and avoiding. That was my favorite. Parrying and absorbing are useful in their own ways. I just went with avoiding because, you know,
I like to be fast.
A quick cutscene plays out, but doesn't immediately mean much besides, you do karate, but you suck, so go get better. Therefore, you're cast into the world to make your path as a stoic, unbreakable monk.
The answer lies in the heart of...
The combat deck system is without a doubt the bread and butter of this game. It is so liberating and fun to be able to create your own combos and move pools. Even though this is where I think one of Absolver's main issues lie. The most fruitful and accessible way to learn new attacks and moves in Absolver is to fight different opponents and learn from them. But every specific move is learned individually. You have to either block against or successfully use your ability on a move to fill up this little meter right here. Once you have dealt with any given move enough times, you can add it to your deck and use it against others. This system sounds crazy awesome on paper, right? Right, but in practice it kind of kicks Absolver's theme of rhythm and fluidity in the gut. Take this example. I came across this weird looking guy and decided, hey, I'm gonna kick your ass, buddy. So I walked over to him and he nonchalantly slaps me in the face. That's hilarious. I want to slap people in the face like that. But I don't have that move yet. Oh, but he does. I'll just learn it from him real quick. So I had to sit there and just repeatedly duck under his slaps until the little bar finally gets filled and now I can slap people. It wasn't hard or anything. I even got this little achievement, which was pretty funny. It was just really awkward and unnecessarily convoluted. And that's how you have to learn the majority of moves in the game. But the slap guy was probably the most pain-free move I got, period. Most of the other really cool and flashy moves are actually used by really tough enemies who are more dangerous and annoying to farm moves from. Because, and this is the worst part about the combat system, believe me, are you ready for this? If you lose a fight, all of your gained move knowledge on the little meter there from that opponent disappears completely, taking any progress you may have made and turning it into a big waste of time. This is especially frustrating when you're at the end of a humongous fight with a group of enemies and you make one dumb mistake and all of that time and effort just gets flushed right down the toilet. I personally feel like some of this could have been fixed if there had just been some sort of shop or dojo system where you could spend experience or in-game currency to learn new moves. Some moves may have different properties or be harder to get, therefore cost more, or they can't be bought outright. And you could even keep the boss's moves learned through the little meter method, so you would have a reason to go back and fight them beyond just acquiring the little stupid special items and weapons from their rematches. As the system stands, combat feels very repetitive in two big ways. Either you keep the same moves and use them over and over again because, learning new moves is a chore, or you spend endless amounts of time grinding blocks or dodges to learn one new move and add it to your deck. Rinse, repeat. That's a real double-edged sword, more like a double-sided coin. Now, I'm going to level with you. Absolver's full price tag was completely justified in my opinion, but only if purchased early in its lifespan, close to launch. I still think that it's a fairly solid title, and you should pick it up if it's on sale for around $20. But the reason I bring up its launch is because of its player base. As of the last 30 days, Absolver's average online player count is only 130 players. And the game will turn 1 year old in August. This is a gigantic, stark contrast from its August 2017 launch, when the peak player count reached almost 19,000 players at one single time. This is one of the more disappointing aspects about Absolver and even multiplayer gaming in general, when considering that the player bases for these games are always going to be in a state of decline. The multiplayer integration in Absolver is pivotal to the unique and interesting decks that you are expected to build in its system. It's a seamlessly transitioning world, in the sense that you will run around the segmented environments and set pieces, which look really nice, by the way. I honestly love the way this game looks in general. It's got a really great visual style and identity. And run into other players on their own quests along the way. It is completely up to you on how you want to approach these other players, though. There isn't even much of a distinction between player characters and AI characters. It's so interesting to think about what you're going to find when you come around the next corner, because you have no idea. You might come across some poor fellow getting mobbed by several AI opponents and jump in to help him out. On the flip side, and just like in a Souls game, not every other player is going to be an ally, and where you might help one fellow player out of a scrap, that same player might turn right around and initiate combat on you. Absolver feels like a concept that was built from the ground up with players just like me in mind. It takes elements from games that I adore and injects them into concepts that I think make for the most enjoyable experiences. Where the world of fighting/action games meet the methodical and intense thrill of a Souls-like game, a realm of Absolver exists, and I want that realm to expand and grow. I do think it has some serious room for improvement though, and not even things that are very difficult to fix. One thing that just immediately comes to mind is the fact that the game is almost completely bereft of music. I always felt that this game's atmosphere could have been seriously enhanced if some musical tracks had accompanied you on your journey. Larger games don't have to feel barren and devoid of those little touches. Even Breath of the Wild, with its huge, sprawling map, has these nice little understated piano keys that just float in and out as you explore Hyrule. And at times, the world can feel a bit empty because of the nature of the online functionality. Sometimes when there's nobody else around you, well, there's nothing. No NPCs, no interesting things to find. Sometimes the size of the game makes it feel somewhat small. But those are the kind of things I mean when I say I want this realm of games to expand and grow. Absolver seems like what it really does, more than anything else, is lay the groundwork well enough for a sequel. Another shot at this game, but with a little more of the things that work, and some improvements to the things that don't necessarily work as well. Brendan Green, the creator of the massively popular PlayerUnknown's Battleground, has said that he believes his game thrives under the individual narrative, as he puts it. In PUBG, you are free to do whatever you want with your friends, and more often than not, you'll come across something crazy in that game too, and have a few stories to tell after playing only a few matches. I can safely say that Absolver is very similar in that regard. There is always something happening somewhere in a doll, and it's probably always worth seeking out for the experience alone. In that regard, I believe that the world of Absolver is still one worth visiting. And that brings us back to my childhood experiences, and the thing that I brought up at the beginning of the video. This would be a great game to play with friends and family, hopefully in the same room. It combines the fun and camaraderie of gaming with the fun and camaraderie of hitting people. I know without a doubt that you and some friends would be able to greatly appreciate this game if you're looking for something a bit more nuanced than the usual Battle Royale games. If Absolver strikes a chord with you like it did for me, and the price tag seems right for you and your group, there will be plenty of great times to be had, and memories to be made, I promise. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching, so thanks for stopping by and have a great day.